There are several different reasons why you would want to add a border to an image in Photoshop, and we're not going to go into all of those reasons. We're just going to look at the quickest and easiest way to add a border. So first off, we're going to look at just how to add a standard white border to any image the quickest and easiest way possible. And then secondly, we're going to take a look at how to add borders to a portrait format image so that you can upload it uncropped to Instagram. And this second method is slightly different, but it will all make sense when we look at how to do that. So we're going to start off with a standard white border. And it's so quick and easy, it's unbelievable. So we need to open up canvas size because we're going to extend the canvas size of the file that we have open here. So to do that, hold down Control, Alt and C. On a Mac, that would be Command, Option and C. So this brings up the canvas size dialog. And here we have several different controls. So by default, it will be set to the center. So if you change the position of this dot, any extension of the canvas will follow the direction. So because we're adding a border around the whole image, we want to keep it in the center, but we will take a look at adding additional border at the bottom afterwards so that we can see how this control here works. So here we have the image dimensions and we can choose the units that it's measured in. I'm going to leave it in pixels because it's quite easy to work with that. It's no harder or easier using any of them. You can just choose the one that works best for you. We have a checkbox here that says relative. So when that's checked, we can just type in an amount here. So if we wanted to add 100 pixels on the width, it would add 50 to each side. And if we wanted to add the same to the height, it would do the same. So you don't have to just add an amount onto what's here. So let's very quickly calculate a good size border. So we have an image here that's almost 8,000 pixels across. So we could add a border that's 1,000 pixels and it's only going to be 1/8 of the width of this image. And we can do the same to the height. But remember, that's only going to add 500 pixels to the top, 500 to the bottom, 500 to the left, and the same to the right. So the easiest way to do that, as I was saying, click on relative, and then we can just type in the amount that we would like to add. Now, the final thing that we need to make sure is set correctly is the canvas extension color. So it's already set to white, which is what I would like, but you can choose the foreground color, background color, these different options here, white, black and gray, or you can choose a completely unique color. But we're going to leave it set to white because that's exactly what we want. And then when I hit OK, we've got that border there. So if you find that that's too large, you could just hold down Control and Z or Command and Z and then go back a step, and we could make that slightly smaller. So let's go for an amount of 750 pixels this time. So this is going to give us a slightly narrower border around that image. So even though I wasn't happy with the first border, it was just a matter of seconds to go back a step and reapply a border. So one thing that's quite typical in photographic printing is to have a slightly wider border at the bottom of the image, and we can extend the existing border if we want to make it slightly fatter. Of course, you could leave it as it is, but let's just add a small amount just to the bottom here. So we added 375 pixels on each side. So if we were to add an amount of 100 pixels to the bottom, that's just going to make it a slither fatter. But let's go a bit smaller, let's go 75. So what we need to do here is just take this center point here and move it to the top so that we're just moving downwards and to the left and right. But we're only going to work with the height here. We're not going to type anything into the width. And then when I hit OK, we just get that small extension at the bottom that just gives us a bit more visual weight to hold the image. And now all that we need to do is save that image and then we're good to go. So now let's take a look at how to add borders to a portrait format image to upload to Instagram without having to crop it. Now there's a different way of doing this that is just so much easier, and it's actually using the crop tool. Now the first thing that you need to do is make sure that the palette colors are set to the defaults of black and white. So if you hit D on the keyboard, that will set those two colors. And then if black happens to be in the background and white in the foreground, just hit X on the keyboard and you can toggle between the two just to make sure, as I say, black in the foreground, white in the background. And then just activate the crop tool and then go up to the ratio setting, whatever that may be. That will be set to whatever you've used previously. And we need to select 4, 5 or 810. So that's going to give us the correct upright dimensions for Instagram. Another thing that we need to make sure of is that we are using classic mode, and for color by default that will be set to match canvas. So if that's not set, just make sure that that is set, because that's going to give us the white borders along each side of the image. So once all that's set, we can pull the guide over the image, and there you'll see we have a ghost image at the bottom so we can see the bottom. If we were using the current crop tool, as you'll see there, we have no ghost image at the bottom, so we can't see the bottom of the image, and that's why we're using classic mode. And then all that we need to do is just drag the guide out to the bottom of the image, and the snap is really quite delicate, so you have to make sure that it does snap to the bottom. If you're unsure, just crop a few pixels off the bottom. It's not going to make a huge difference. So now we can just take the guide and just drag it over to the side, wait till it snaps in the center, and then just hit enter on the keyboard, and there you'll see I've got a bit of extra border at the bottom. So I'm going to use Control and Z, and I'm going to do that again. But this time, I'm just going to take a few pixels off the bottom to make sure that I don't get that white border at the bottom. So there we go. That is ready to upload to Instagram as a full portrait image without any cropping whatsoever.